Hi, welcome to ShowMeTheCurry.com. I'm Hital.
I'm Anuja, and today we're going to show you how to make Masala Cornish Hen. Now, Cornish hens have this wow presentation. They can be put into a centerpiece on a formal table, or they're small enough to just have, all by yourself.
Yeah, that's true. So this recipe is a multi-step process, first of which is defrosting your chicken. Right?
Yes. So what you have to do is once you buy the Cornish hen, they usually come in packs of 2. Now that's one of the good things about Cornish hen. They're small and they weigh anywhere from 1 pound to 2 pound each. So we have defrosted ours in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours. Now it's very important to defrost it in the refrigerator, because outside is not going to work and it's grounds for contamination basically.
And you definitely don't want to put it in the microwave to defrost. No.
Right. So what we have done is we've washed it very well, and it's kind of just draining out over there while we get everything else ready.
And so our next step is dry roasting a lot of our spices, and we have a lot of whole spices here that's going to give a lot of fragrance and just fresh flavor to this dish. So we have a heavy bottom pan heating up here on low heat, and it's already hot. We're going to add 1 star anise, 1-inch piece of cinnamon, we're just going to break it, 4 whole cloves, 3 whole cardamoms, green, and 1 black cardamom. It's a ½ tablespoon of whole black pepper.
All to taste. And we're going to mix it. We're going to give these a little head start because they're a little bigger and they take a little longer to roast. Now keep mixing it because you don't want any one of them to burn or cook a little extra on one side. And like Heather did, break it up if possible. So even the star anise, we've just put it in whole so you can see what it looks like, but it's better if you just break it up.
Once you really start getting the aroma and everything starts changing just a little bit of color, we have 2 red chilies, dry red chilies. We're going to just break and add. Oops.
All to taste.
Here's 2 tablespoons of whole coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1 teaspoon of black cumin seeds or shahi jeera, and a 1/4 teaspoon of methi or fenugreek seeds.
So once it's all done, we've got a great aroma. You're going to turn off the stove and transfer it into a plate and just allow it to cool down.
Now while you're doing this, it tends to smoke a lot, and that's okay. Sometimes it scares people because you'll start coughing and turn on the vent, do what you need to do, but if you see that smoke coming out, that's perfectly okay. You just don't want to burn it, but you want a nice golden color on the spices.
Okay, here's our featured item, the chicken, the Cornish hen, and you can see it is it's a little smaller than the regular, not a little actually, quite a bit smaller than your regular chicken. And we've washed it, and like we mentioned, we've drained out all the excess water from it. So you can go into the cavity and you can take out all the innards. So now a very important step is we're going to pat it dry really, really well. Now if you don't pat it dry, the masala and the spices are not going to stick to it. And also one more thing, we're choosing to keep the skin on. Now when you keep the skin on for the chicken and you bake it, it's still very, very moist. The chicken is very moist, the meat is fabulous, it just falls off the bone. But for people who do not like that, you can just take your shears, cut it up and remove it. The cooking time will be a little different, and you have to keep basting it, very important, otherwise it will dry up. So I'm going to get down to drying this. And make sure you get all the corners, and try and dry up the cavity also, so that way it's you don't have any water over there and it just starts coming out later on.
So while Anuja is drying the bird, we're going to work on our second set of spices, and these are our wet spices. So what we have is our spice grinder here. We have 2 tablespoons of oil in here. Now we're going to try to grind this masala without any water because we want it to stick to the chicken, and so we're using oil as the agent to help the grinding process here. And it's regular oil. You want to use oil that doesn't have a strong flavor, so we're using canola. So in our spice grinder, we're going to add 6 large cloves of garlic. And we have roughly about a tablespoon of ginger. We're just going to chop it into little pieces so it helps the grinding better. We have 6 green chilies. Now, of course, these are to taste. And we have 1/4 of a large onion. Also, we're going to chop roughly. And finally, we have about 12 nice, fresh-looking cilantro stems and leaves. And we're going to grind this into a smooth paste. And you may need to jiggle it around just a little bit because, again, we don't want to use water for this.
Jiggle, jiggle. Okay, my chicken is dried up very well. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to just poke holes in the chicken so that the masalas and the spices all go inside. They're not just superficial and only on the top. So just take a knife and start dabbing.
And in the meantime, the dry spices that we dry roasted is nice and cool to the touch. And we're going to take another spice grinder, a dry spice grinder, and grind these into a fine powder. So here are 2 spice mixtures. We have the dry one and we have the wet one. Now these don't have salt in them yet, so we're going to go ahead and add that in right now. And this is to taste. You can taste either of them and get it to the level that you like. But just remember that that's a pretty big chicken there, and this is your only source of salting that chicken. So keep that in mind. It's about 1 teaspoon here and 1 teaspoon here. Just mix it through.
So now is the time to marinate the chicken. We already patted it dry, we kind of poked holes. So we're going to start marinating from the inside out, and first we're going to use the dry rub and put it inside and under the skin. So here you go, the inner first. Okay, and then just take your hand and just kind of rub it in. I'm going to take some in my hand and push it in there and under the skin. Get it in wherever you possibly can. Now what you can do is the balance of the dry spice you can mix with your wet spices, your wet masala. And we're going to start rubbing the chicken. Oops. Alright, get all the corners, under the wings especially, because we somehow tend to miss out that spot. This is all marinated well, and I'm going to have my assistant here get some saran wrap. And once your saran wrap is ready, just try and pick up all your masala, put it on here, so you don't want to, waste it. Yes.
So the amount of masala we showed you is enough for 2 Cornish hens. And like Anuja said, if you're making just one, this is a fabulous sauce to have on the side with some veggies so that your whole platter has the same flavor scheme going. So you can saute some vegetables in that, or you can cut down to half the quantity if you're making one bird.
Right, and then just close it up and do it very tightly.
And here's another piece for the edges.
Perfect. There we go. Yep. And what we're going to do now is we're going to let it marinate in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, and overnight if you have the time.
It makes a big difference.
Absolutely. So the Cornish hen has been marinating for 2 hours.
And we also have a glass baking tray. Now you can use glass if you have, or you can use a metal baking pan. It's okay either way. And we've lightly coated it with some spray cooking oil so that the chicken doesn't stick to anything. And we also have about 2 medium potatoes and 1 carrot that we've made nice big chunks like this, like bite-sized chunks of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these veggies in the bottom of the pan.
Now this is optional. You can skip it if you like.
This wrapping in saran wrap really helps get all the masalas to stick tightly onto the chicken, and it marinates so much better.
So we're just going to lay it over here. And that masala that we have, we're going to just put a little bit more on top. And just so that it doesn't dry up.
Maybe a piece of foil. Cover it tightly.
And the oven is actually already heated up. It was heating up at 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's ready to go. Now this is going to go into the oven for 15 minutes at that temperature, middle of the oven, in the middle of the rack. So
the chicken is going to take a little longer than 15 minutes to cook, but this is the first stage in cooking, so we'll see you back in 15 minutes. So that's our oven, and that's our 15-minute timer, so let's take a look.
Okay, we're going to open it up. Looks good. Just make sure, if you see any kind of drying spots that are drying, you have that mixture, you just put a little bit more and make sure, it's not drying up. You're going to close it up again. So you're going to reduce the temperature of the oven now. It's going to go down to 350, and it's going to go in for, basically it's going to go in for another 45 minutes, but every 15 minutes we're going to pull it out. Make sure it doesn't need any more basting, or the masala needs to be poured over, or anything is getting overcooked.
Right. So the chicken has been cooking for the additional 45 minutes, and every 15 minutes we took it out just to make sure it wasn't drying out. And remarkably, it was not. So we didn't really have to do anything. We just put it back in. And here it is after 45 minutes.
Looks really good. And the one important thing you have to do is when you're doing a full chicken like this, you want to make sure it's cooked all the way inside, and unfortunately it's not pieces.
Right.
So if you do a lot of these, then you probably have or want to get one of the thermometers, food thermometer, and you take what you do is you turn it on and you insert it into the thickest portion, which is usually the thigh. So I'm going to put it through that, and I'm going to check the temperature. It needs to be at least 160 degrees. We're going to pick up the chicken and we're going to transfer it into another bowl. There you go. And we're going to put it into the oven. Now we're going to change the temperature to a broil. So what we want to do is we want to get a little bit of color to it. It's looking a little pale, so just to give it a little color, we're just going to do top broil on high for like maximum 3 to 4 minutes. Let me go ahead and do this.
And be sure you keep a close eye on it. Anytime you use broil, you want to watch it and make sure it's stopped right in time. And we also move the rack up one more notch so that it's closer to the element on top.
And we have this wonderful stuff over here. We've got some veggies. They are very well cooked, but we've got a lot of the liquid, which is the broth of the chicken, and you don't want to waste it. It's got a lot of flavor.
So when you're serving your nice, beautiful centerpiece of a chicken, you really don't want to serve that liquid because it's going to ruin the whole effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that broth or that liquid that came out of the chicken, and we're going to add it to a small skillet. Now we still have that masala from the beginning, patiently waiting for us sitting here. So we will add this masala to this liquid and basically cook it all the way through so that all the rawness and raw flavor of that goes away. And I'm going to turn it up and just let the liquid dehydrate and concentrate that sauce.
So I'm going to also check in on our chicken. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, this is done. It's got a little bit of color. Perfect.
Okay, this mixture is nice and concentrated, so we can mix our veggies back in here. And just toss them. They're already well cooked, so this is just a little bit of tossing to coat them.
Looks really, really good.
Switch off the stove.
So meanwhile, I have my platter that we're going to be serving the dish in. And I'm going to pick up the chicken again and move it. Looks so good. You have to be a little delicate because it is chicken and it's very, very tender.
And we take our veggies and just garnish along the sides. can always wipe the edges later after you've finished putting all this in.
So voila, it's all ready. So are you ready for Thanksgiving?
Absolutely.
Cornish hens are a great alternative to turkey, but this is a smaller portion for people who don't have a ton of people coming over.
And those turkeys are like 25 pounds, so a great option. So enjoy your Cornish hen and join us again on another episode of ShowMeTheCurry.com.
Adding a pinch of spice to your life. This is definitely spicy.
Yeah.